Hey y'all, this is Sarah Childers, registered dietitian here, and I'm going to go over in this video with you how to properly meal prep, what works when it comes to meal prepping, what I do and what I advise my clients to do when it comes to prepping your meals each week. When it comes to prepping your meals, there's no hard and fast rules. I'm just going to go over what works for me, what works for my clients, so that you can see if this is something that works for you. You might have noticed this already. If you haven't, this is my first YouTube video ever, and so I'm very excited, very nervous, but in 2025 I really wanted to put a lot of content out there on YouTube because I am very long-winded, so that I can share some more longer form content that is more helpful than just a 2-minute reel on Instagram. And since I'm very long-winded, I feel as though a lot of my YouTube videos are going to be packed full of information. And in this YouTube video, we're talking all about meal prepping. I had to pause and start Sunday lunch, but is meal prepping for you? And I think a lot of people ask this because oftentimes people don't love to plan that far in advance, and they don't love leftovers, and they don't love heating things up. But as a dietitian who has worked with a lot of clients who want to lose weight, women in particular, I think meal prepping is for anyone who has a goal and wants to be able to more easily stick with a plan and execute the plan. Because a lot of people get on meal plans and they are able to follow them, but then once they stop their diet, they no longer know what to do with themselves, and they no longer feel the need to meal prep anymore. And oftentimes when we don't plan ahead, that causes us to not meet our goals and execute the real plan that we have. So when it comes to meal planning and meal prepping, you are doing a lot of work up front in the week, and that is giving you more space to just execute the plan throughout the entire week. Because if you've not noticed before, when you don't meal prep, you don't know what you're going to eat, or every day is a new day when it comes to eating a meal. And if you have the time to plan that all out, that's great, but most people don't have the time to plan all of that. And so you wake up every day thinking, oh, what am I going to have for breakfast? What am I going to have for lunch? What am I going to have for snacks? What am I going to have for dinner? And you actually spend more time in the long run planning out your meals because you're planning everything on the fly, rather than just committing to staying organized, making a list, looking at your cupboards, and then also prepping vegetables, prepping your lunches, your snacks, maybe your breakfast, and getting a plan together as well for dinner. And so that's what I like to do, and that's why I think that meal prepping is really for everybody. If you are somebody who wants to be successful when it comes to losing weight, keeping weight off, feeling your best, having low inflammation, especially if you're somebody who has PCOS or thyroid issues or any sort of hormonal imbalance that may require a lot of time and attention to your diet in order to feel your best. When it comes to meal prepping, knowing that planning equals success is always the best way to go. And a lot of people think that it's a lot of work and it's not sustainable, but in reality it is the most sustainable thing you can do, is have meal prepping in your routine. And I don't always do it on a Sunday. I did it on a Saturday for the most part this past week, but a lot of times people will meal prep on a Monday, or I've even meal prepped on a Wednesday before. I just plan out what the weekend will look like if we're going to be home, and we will just make it work. And that's that. There's no hard and fast rules when it comes to when, what time, how long it takes you, or even what all you end up prepping. When it comes to prepping meals and stuff, I prep a lot of my breakfast, unless breakfast is just like toast or something I can pop in the air fryer. But I prep a lot of my lunches because I have busy days. And then I prep ingredients. I don't full out cook or anything as far as dinner goes. I don't fully cook those meals before, but I will chop up the produce, wash everything, marinate the meat beforehand, so that during the week, hopefully, the prep work for meals and dinners is very minimal, and I'm just throwing it in the air fryer or throwing it in the oven. I'm not fully prepping dinner. I'm just ingredient prepping is what I call it. And so that has worked for me, and that's worked for a lot of clients that I've had who want to enjoy a healthy, nice meal after a long day of work, and they're very tired and they don't have a lot of time, or they have kids or something like that. What do you do when you get bored of meal prepping? If you're used to eating the same thing all the time, my biggest advice would be is get creative, because I have noticed with myself and a lot of clients, those who are creative in the kitchen and know how to cook and are willing to experiment with different cuisines or taste profiles do the best when it comes to sticking to a diet. And that's really what it comes down to. And one of the reasons I started this channel is so that I can teach you how to make a sustainable dish that you're not always getting tired of. And if you are somebody who doesn't know how to cook or isn't very creative in the kitchen, I think that that could be one of the main things, if not the main thing, holding you back from consistently being healthy and consistently sticking to a diet and getting the results that you want. You need to have those skills. And I'm somebody who is pretty traditional trad wife, if you could say that. And I think it's very essential that every person be able to maneuver around a kitchen. When you get bored of things, following a framework is the most important. So I'm going to add here a picture of the framework, the meal framework that I follow and that I give my clients to follow in my programs. And this is really just a plug and chug framework of you have a protein, you have a vegetable, you have a carb, you have some healthy fats in there, and then you also have hopefully some fiber or some fermented probiotic rich foods in your meal as well. And if you are, say, tired of chicken or tired of a certain vegetable in the meals that you've been having, you don't have to change the entire meal. You can just plug and chug and replace it with another vegetable or another protein so that you can keep things interesting without overthinking it. So I am back, but I have been napping on Sunday and just eating lunch, honestly, and I wanted to hop back on here and talk about my process of meal prepping. So I always go through and make a list of things that I want to have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner during the week, so that I can assess my cupboards, see what I have, and then see what I need to get from the grocery store. So this week I'm making pancakes for breakfast, paleo grain-free pancakes with an omelet baked, I think is what it's called. I'm about to make it. But then for lunch, I'm having this. I don't usually do low carb, but I do like a lower carb lunch. I'm also doing more vegetables with this. They're just not in here, but I'm doing a chicken salad with carrots and celery. And I really, lunch, I'm more focused on getting in my protein so that I can feel my best and get my protein in. I don't actually do a lot of carbs at lunch because they tend to make me feel kind of sluggish, and a lot of times if you have a high carb lunch, you will have an afternoon crash, and we're really not wanting that. So I'm gonna do that for lunch, and then probably like beef jerky and oranges, I think, for a snack. And then for dinner, I'm doing a roast with veggies, chicken and collard greens, and my healthy homemade cornbread. And then one night I'm going to do smothered French onion pork loin with a vegetable. And then I'm going to do buffalo chicken stuffed sweet potatoes for one dinner. And then I might do like a breakfast for dinner, or like an Asian dinner another night of something semi-healthy that I have in my cupboards. After I have checked all my cupboards and stuff, then I go to the grocery store and I come back and I I prep all of my produce, and that is the most important part, is prepping your produce, because I honestly feel like produce takes the longest to prep and make than anything else. Sometimes I will marinate my meats, but I always go through and like clean my sweet potatoes or clean my fruit if it needs cleaning, and go through and I chop up vegetables. Like I have a bunch of chopped onions here as an example, and I can just use these throughout the week in different recipes. I plan to use this huge thing of chopped onions in my French onion smothered pork loin, but also in my roast, but also in my omelets. Especially with meat and produce, I try to pick things that I can spread out and buy in bulk and use in different recipes throughout the entire week, because this stretches my dollar, and it also helps me save some time when I'm meal prepping, because if you're just chopping up onions, it's a lot easier than if you have to deal with a bunch of different types of fruits and vegetables. So that's what we're doing this week. And I also, this is a little bit extra, but I do try to look up what's in season whenever I make anything, because I want to eat with the seasons, because I think God gives us whatever nutrients we need to thrive in that season. That is what produce is in season. You can find those nutrients in the produce that is in season in the winter, in the summer, in the spring. So like in the winter, you have a lot of root vegetables that are high in potassium and have a lot of nutrients in them, a lot of vitamin C in them. And then you also have things like citrus fruits that are really good for your immune system during the winter months. And then, you know, in the summer you might have things that are fruits that are higher in water content that might be more hydrating for you to have. So I always try to be seasonal with everything that I do, but I am going to make everything up right now. I have a lot of my produce for my dinners made up. I have a lot of meats already in the fridge for my dinners, and then I have all my lunches made. My snacks don't actually have to be made. I try to pick snacks that don't have to be prepped unless it's like a fruit that just needs to be washed. Like this week I'm doing these for my snacks, so it's gonna be very easy, just grab and go. And the only thing left is breakfast, which I usually have a good bit of time to make breakfast, but I'm going to try to prep it this week, which is going to be kind of a challenge because I don't have a microwave, and I really just use my oven, the side piece on my oven, to do all the heating up or reheating for me. So we'll see how it works out. Some other things I have in my fridge that I do actually consume on a regular basis are things like coconut water or vitamins and minerals. I've been using this AG1 ever since I got sick a few weeks ago, and I do make adrenal cocktails with this and this. And I love these because if you're somebody who's under stress, having things that are high in potassium in your diet are really good for you. This is not really a meal prep tip, but this is just a tip for those who are under stress, like most women are, because stress can get in the way of your thyroid function, PCOS, and hormones, and it can also cause a lot of different issues with your cortisol, which has an effect on your entire metabolism. So I love to have stuff like either aloe vera juice or coconut water that has potassium in it, and then pair it with something with vitamin C. And then I always try to use a high quality salt on everything, and I do use these together to make an adrenal cocktail, which I can add a recipe for. There's nothing more satisfying than a fully stocked, ready to go for the week fridge. I also love to make things like bone broth, but I did just buy bone broth lately because I've been sick. But that is another thing I do. like to meal prep is I will meal prep some bone broth to use when I'm making rice, soups, different things that call for liquid that could be bone broth. How I do this, and I can make an entire video of this sometime, but I have a bunch of bones that I get from my local butcher, super cheap, and I make bone broth for pretty much nothing in my crock pot. And it's super easy, and it is so healing because bone broth, the gelatin that you get from bone broth is just so good for your gut health, and everything starts in the gut. All of your health starts in the gut, and that's something that I always like to tell my clients is if you don't have a healthy gut, you don't have a healthy brain, you don't have healthy hormones, you don't have anything healthy if your gut isn't healthy. And so all of my foods, all of my snacks, all of my drinks, I try to make as gut healthy and as metabolism supporting as possible. And I think that always starts with having a plan. So having foods that you can make a meal from, having a framework. And I'm gonna leave my framework and all the steps that I use when I meal prep in the description of this video so that you can look at it and get some ideas. And also I will link my Pinterest as well, because I do have a lot of Pinterest boards with recipe ideas for you to look at and brainstorm as you are trying to make healthier choices in 2025.